some interesting things are happening within the website. So we'll see how it goes. I decided I'm doing a webinar next month called Crisis Control.
Uh-huh.
And it'll be all about how to deal with fires, floods, COVID-19, crises.
Oh, good. Oh, that's wonderful.
Crisis control. This month is AMA Ask Me Anything. Next month, crisis control.
Oh, cool. I'm going to just go inside because my mom's going to come out here and blow the patio off.
No worries. You want to see him before we get started?
Oh, look at the baby.
Oopsie. Pick your head up.
Oh, sweetie pie.
Roll over. Oh, look at you, old man.
Oh,
Roll over.
what a good boy. I was just going to try to show you
inches from me the whole time. Okay, Eric Jarvis from Reassure Rent is ready to come in, so I'm going to let him in, okay?
Okay, we're all ready.
All right, we're going. I'm like, Eric, I know you're there. I can't hear you, though. Where did he go? Eric and Catherine, you guys are both muted. If you want to talk to us, you're going to have to unmute yourselves.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Oh, well, you.
Ironically, I wanted you two to talk, so it's ironic that you have Stacy here.
Oh, I'm Eric.
Hi, Eric. I'm Stacy. Great. I need to prop my iPad up so I can see everybody right. Oh well, it is what it is.
There you go.
Hello, I'm not in a camera-friendly setting, so I'm going to be audio only, okay?
We like that, and that's fine.
Thank you, Miss Patty. You know I love seeing you, though. I just don't think
it's a ponytail kind of day, and yes, I am wearing yoga pants.
Wait a minute.
Very
Now I know
casual.
what to send you for Christmas.
Yes, yoga pants are always good, especially on these stay-at-home orders.
That's standard quarantine wear, I think.
Yes, most definitely. I worked in my garden all day yesterday, and I was so excited about it. I planted 11 different types of chili peppers, and I went out there this morning to get the mail, and the bunnies have eaten all of them.
Oh, no.
I love it.
So now I'm like, how do you get rid of bunnies, Eric?
You have to fence around them.
Yes, fence around them. That would be a good start. Yes.
I did that, and the gophers got the roots, and then everything just tipped over, so I learned that one.
Hey, it happened. I was just so frustrated. I spent all day yesterday with that.
I love it. So you're one of those folks in that huge line at Home Depot, I see, or somewhere similar.
No, I ordered all my stuff online. I'm actually really trying to be extremely responsible. I have a tenant that was affected by COVID-19, and my son's girlfriend's family was all affected by it. So I'm trying to be extremely compassionate and understanding, and at the same time do what I want to do. So I just order what I want online.
Smart. I like that. Yeah, I haven't gone anywhere myself. I actually was lucky enough to get tested a week ago, and it was negative, so I was fortunate.
Nice, nice. Congratulations for not testing positive.
Yeah, man. I'm in LA, so it's pretty easy, actually. It's amazingly easy.
To get tested?
Yes, it took 24 hours to get the appointment, and about 24 hours later, 10 minutes, I was in and out and done. It was very quick.
That's not bad at all.
No, and it was a mouth swab, so you didn't have to go through that, but looks very painful.
Oh, yes, and it does look very painful. I
That
would
was
agree.
it. You stayed in the car, you drove through. It wasn't 10 minutes. I wasn't there 10 minutes. It was very nice. Anybody has address in LA, they can sign up and come out. And there's like 5 sites you can go to.
I haven't gotten gas in my car in over 30 days.
Good for you. It's funny.
I'm-
I got in my car and it was empty when you say that. I got in, I was like, oops.
It's so funny because when this first happened, I was like, gas your cars. That'll be the next thing that goes, you know? Gas your
Nobody's driving
cars.
anywhere.
Yeah.
My 16-year-old daughter just got her driver's license. I said,
Yeah.
perfect time. Nobody's on the street and gas is cheap.
Right?
Yeah, lucky.
Good job, Dad.
Anywhere you want.
Good job. No, I totally agree. So I was going to have everybody just kind of introduce themselves so we know who we're talking to, what's going on. And we have people joining us as they come on. So we'll just go ahead. Stacy, let's start with you. Who are you? What are you doing here? Are you one of us?
Well, I normally don't look this good. I'm out in the desert and I totally forgot about this call and I'm like, oh my gosh. So I apologize, but
The ponytail day.
we started Memorial Weekend early. We're from
Right.
LA County. We decided with all the restrictions, we're going out to Riverside County to Palm Desert. But my name is Stacy Caponegro. I own with my parents a property management and real estate company in Claremont. And we service from Azusa to Rialto and as far south as Chino Hills. So that's the territory we feel most comfortable with. We manage just over 120 homes. We've been doing it about 10 years and looking to expand. And have really appreciated Patty and these calls that she's put on and just being able to collaborate with other folks that are in this industry.
Remind us that we're not alone.
Yeah, thankfully.
Okay, next, somebody introduce themselves. You guys know who I am, so.
I'll go.
Okay.
Yeah, so my name is Eric Jarvis. I'm a recovering lawyer. I'm also a landlord. And I also run an insurance agency that produces a product called Reassure Rent, which is a tenant default insurance. So basically, if the tenant doesn't pay rent, you would serve your 3-day notice, like in normal times anyways, serve your 3-day notice, and then call us, and we're going to hire the attorney to manage the eviction. First, we're going to attempt to cash for keys transaction to get them out. If that doesn't work, we'll hire the attorney and pay for the legal fees and court costs to get that tenant out, and then reimburse the landlord for the missing rent for up to 6 months worth of rent. So I've formed a wonderful relationship with Patty, and I'm excited about becoming part of this community even more, and I'm happy to be here. And also just to answer any questions or concerns or anything like that. So,
Did you guys all catch that? He's
Yes.
a recovering attorney.
I love it.
And Eric, I want your
is on our side.
Yes, definitely.
Okay,
Hi.
next.
I'll go
I'm-
next. I'm Catherine. Does that help?
Yes,
Okay.
Catherine, go ahead.
Okay, perfect. I heard another voice. My name's Catherine Castellini, and Mr. Jarvis and all. Patty has become such a great resource and actually like a mentor. She was very, very kind in welcoming me in. My role is kind of multifaceted. I have represented landlords. I'm not an attorney. I am a paralegal / assistant to many attorneys. Over the years, I have a very lengthy real estate, finance, and legal research background. And I am a bankruptcy preparer and expert in that field. So one of the things that I've been able to do is kind of straddle both lines in some ways for tenants as well as landlords. Tenants in regards to financial recovery. So the next step now has been a resource center for folks to come in hopes that instead of just running away from the issues, we can look at what next, what are my options, and have some good recovery for both sides. So I've been able to do that quite well on the landlord side. So I'm very interested in the insurance piece. So my background really is research, having anything to do with legal filings, eviction processes. I've done lots and lots of eviction processing. So it's sort of multifaceted, but whatever it is, as my father used to say, a jack of all trades and master of none. So that is my repertoire.
Well, welcome to our group and thank you for joining us. Next.
Can anybody hear me or see me?
I can hear you.
Okay,
Let me see if I can see you. Hold on.
I guess I'm technically challenged. I logged off and logged back on, and now I have audio, but I don't have a picture.
In the bottom of your screen, it might say start video.
Okay. Okay.
And that's where you would start that.
Okay.
Hi, Ronalie, I see you. Now I can hear you. Introduce yourself, please.
So my name is Ronalie, and my background is in real estate, and I have a couple of units, 4 units that are vacant, and I'm looking to fill those up right now. And
right, I know you and Stacy had talked last week about some of the things that she was doing, and it caught your interest.
Yes,
and it makes sense, you know. One of the biggest things we have is vacants. They deplete our overhead real quick if we're not careful with that. And getting those vacants rented as quickly as possible definitely is detrimental to our industry. So I loved her idea. We worked through a couple of loopholes in there. And Stacy's now telling us that she's going to do virtual tours going forward. She gets a lot less no-shows. And it seems to be working out nicely for her. Isn't that right, Stacy?
Yes, absolutely. It's worked really well for us. Sorry, the gardeners are here right now, so.
Well, that happened to me last week in the middle of a live webinar. I'm like, oh no. Well, they know I'm home.
I'm excited to hear, Ronalie, how that worked out for you.
I think Ronalie's got more questions for you, girl.
Actually, today I got a call, Patty. It's funny. She wants to possibly rent one of my units, and she showed me a past credit score, and her and her husband have a really good credit score, and they have FICO, and I'm like, yes, the gods have like answered something.
Ronnalie,
okay, so
their past credit score, not their current one.
Yes, but I'm gonna pull it. So I asked them, I said, give me your, the details, and then we'll see from then. So yeah. But so far I'm like, yes.
Now I see you, Nick.
Hi. Yeah, I see the camera light on now too. It's like, okay, I guess I finally learned it. I don't know why it's so complicated this time. Last time it wasn't as complicated for me.
Well, hey, it happens when the wind blows, right?
There you go. Should I go ahead and introduce myself?
Please.
Okay, I'm in my natural hair look right now at home.
Me too.
I guess, this is my natural now. Anyways, so my name is Nick Garza, and I'm an owner of a couple of properties, and I'm simply sitting in this chair to continue to be educated and learn and understand. My background, I'm an anthropologist. I've taught for years, and I guess at my core, I'm an advocate. And so this, for me, it's where I belong in the sense of advocating on behalf of ourselves and learning from one another, and looking forward, hopefully, to a better future. And I've got my own challenges. Patty understands. She's got my ear, and so we're learning and growing, and hopefully, with being part of this group here today, I will continue to learn something. If I walk away with one thing, it's worth everything for me. So.
Well, that's always good news. I always ask people, if you learned one thing in my seminar today, then I feel like I did my job.
Yes. Thank you, Patty.
Not a problem. Richard, would you be so kind to introduce yourself to us? And then I want to have a little chit chat with Eric so all of you guys can hear.
Okay. I'm Rick Ottestrom. I was a president of AGLA for 2 years, and a director there for 20 years. And before that, I was president of the realtors uh, for Los Angeles. And that was a long time ago, but I'm still a director there. I'm director for the California Association of Realtors. But before all that, I was a pharmacist. But that didn't last very long because my mother and other parts of my family were in real estate. And so I went off into real estate. And
They
built a
influenced
few,
you.
units. And I was a little bit late here because I was on phone from one of my managers, because she was having two different problems. She had one tenant that was going around and taking pictures of her. And she didn't like that. And I never had anybody do that. And I've been doing this for 45 years. And then we seem to have a problem with the current, I'll tell you what it is, the COVID-19. It's not anybody that's has it that we know of our tenants, but we have just today 2 tenants that wanted to move out right away because they were afraid of the COVID-19, which isn't to my knowledge or my manager's knowledge, isn't there. And it's a 50-unit building, so there's a lot of people in there. But anyway.
If they want to move out, accept their notice to vacate and process their security deposit accordingly, charge them to term if they're in a term, and go business as normal and wave bye as they exit.
Yes, well, and this was just today that these 2 tenants came to her. She told them that they would have to give a 30-day notice, which would be the rest of this money that they have up now, and then it would be some paid for May. And I'm kind of thinking maybe we just let them go and not have them bring in more money. But anyway, that's why I was a little late.
Not a problem. I totally understand. Eric, if you would be so kind to talk to me just a little bit and help explain, let me say this, okay? Last month, for the month of April in 2020, 97% of all tenants paid their rent in the month of April.
Wow.
Across the state. For the month of May, across the state, according to Yardi Rent Collect, Appfolio, and all the management software, accounting software, 95% of the state of California paid their rent.
Wow.
So we're making a lot of laws and a lot of legislation for 5% of the 5% of the population in the state of California.
Yep.
2% of those, in my personal opinion, have a need, and the other 3% are just riding the wave that we are all so familiar with called tenants' rights, right? They want to see what they're going to get for free out of this. It is what it is. But here's me talking to you guys. If only 5% of our entire book of business isn't paying the rent, that's not detrimental to us. We should be able to function at 80% capacity and 20% vacancy, right? Overhead, that's how we should be able to function. So this 5% that all this is about shouldn't be a huge concern of ours. Just my opinion.
Let me address a little bit, because I had a very similar conversation this morning with Anthony Miller, who's head of the insurance department at the AOA, the insurance division of the AOA Association. And his numbers among his clients are exactly the same. They're only seeing maybe a 2% increase in vacancies or non-payments of other clients. But I did want to throw this out there, though. I think what's going to be more concerning later on is that we can't get those tenants out as quickly as we used to be able to.
Bingo.
Yeah, you know, the moratorium on filing unlawful detainer actions for anything other than safety and health reasons, so including payment of rent, not they don't pay the rent, the courts are saying you cannot file those unlawful detainer actions, that the courts will not issue the summons to go with that complaint. And that moratorium is going to last for 60 days after the date the governor declares emergency over.
Did
So
they
it's gonna be-
change? Did they change that? Because I read the judicial moratorium at 90 days.
At 90, it could be. Maybe I'm dyslexic and I read the 6 upside down. I don't know.
I'm just clarifying. But
I
yeah,
have a
for the first
question.
3 months, no cases can be filed.
I have a quick question. Eric, I got a quick question. So is this for July 1st, do you know?
This is the, gosh, I just read this morning. No, this has been effective. This has been effective already. That as of now, and I think retroactively for the past couple of weeks, the Judicial Council has determined that they're ordering their courts not to issue summonses. There have been
Correct.
other eviction moratoriums placed by the City of Los Angeles, by the governor, but this Judicial Council moratorium preempts those, gives
Yes.
a specific instruction to the courts not to allow the issuances of these summonses.
I
So-
think I said mine wrong. I think for just a moment here, if you allow me, I think it was July 1st things are going to get lifted. I think that's what I meant to say. Does anybody know anything about that?
Some people are saying June 1st. So until we get the whole executive order, it's all hearsay. Don't feed off of it, okay? Grain of salt.
Okay. So meanwhile, we'll just kind of continue to do what we're doing.
Business as usual, except when it comes to the enforcement of rent collection or terminating tenancy. Do you agree with that statement, Eric?
I do. The Judicial Council order said that they will terminate 60 days after the date the governor declares the end of the emergency, or if the Judicial Council determines on its own that it should alter that rule. So I haven't heard anything about June 1st or July 1st. Maybe there's some discussion in there, but I've taken note and I'll research that and hopefully be able to clarify to Patty so she can.
Is this the same as this moratorium we're talking about that was supposed to be lifted May 31st, but it could be extended?
No, you're talking about the shelter in place moratorium. What we're talking about is a judicial moratorium, basically stating that all courts in California will not take any new cases for the first 90 days once the shelter in place is lifted.
Okay, I want to make a note of that.
Not a problem. And I read it as 90 days. Eric read it as 60 days. So we don't have a rock solid answer on that number. And it could have changed. And it might change again. You never know.
And that's
This is
why we're
California.
That's the
Exactly.
last I have heard was 90.
Okay.
Yeah.
Last I heard was 92. So who knows?
It'll be an easy check. Let's go with 90 just to be safe for planning
Well,
purposes.
and then after that, then the tenant still has six months to pay it back depending on the city they live in.
Hold on. Not after that. Once it's lifted, the 6 months starts on day one.
Okay.
What we're saying is you're not going to be able to file court cases for 90 days.
Okay.
Okay.
So, because I have a client who asked me this yesterday. We have a tenant who's only been paying $500 a month.
Okay.
And he said, well, when that moratorium is lifted, they have to start paying their rent. Could I then serve them a 3-day notice to pay or quit? And I said, I don't think so, because
let me give you a time frame really quickly, okay?
Okay.
From March 27th, when the shelter in place order was given, to whenever it is lifted, okay, is a COVID rent loan. That's what we're calling that. So let's say that's 2 months of time, and they lifted on June 15th. On July 1st, rent's due as scheduled. So as it becomes due, it's due as scheduled. So starting in July, they would owe rent if they lifted it on June 15th as an example. But those 2.5, 3 months of rent during the loan period, that is payable in full over the course of time based on the city's moratorium, whether it be 6 months, 12 months, whatever the city says you have to carry that amount. So you won't be able to evict on the COVID rent loan amounts until after the city's moratorium has expired. So if your city says 6 months, you're gonna have to wait 6 months. If they pay you in full at 5 months and 29 days, take the money and be done, you know?
Yeah.
So Eric, there's been a lot of concern right now, and I know Ronalie's had some concerns, Stacy's has some concern, I had some concerns on one of my properties of renting during this time period because we have vacant units. They were vacant before, they became vacant during COVID, and we fear that somebody's going to get in there and then never pay us again just because they're taking advantage of the COVID situation, or we fear that we need to get these units rented. They're bleeding us dry. You know what I mean? And we want to be able to protect ourselves. So I would like nothing more for you to talk about the insurance you offer, what your two biggest competitors' problems are right now and why they can't help their clients, so that we have a better understanding of you actually sell insurance. It's not, what is the word you used?
Like a guarantee or rent guarantee.
Yes. And a lot of these other companies are doing that rent guarantee, and now their hands are tied. They can't do anything, whereas you have actual physical insurance with a deductible, with a monthly payment, with an annual payment. I mean, with a huge carrier behind you. So could you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, thanks, Patty. I appreciate that. So Reassure Rent is the name insurance product, and it really is tenant's default insurance. And yeah, I kind of stated a little bit from a very high level position earlier that basically if the tenant doesn't pay the rent, then you call us and we will first of all reach out to that tenant and then negotiate a cash for keys transaction. You know, our approach is, hey, your landlord wants you don't want that to happen. You're going to have an eviction on your record. You won't be able to rent again. Let us help you. Let us help you with a moving truck. Let us help you find a storage unit, and we'll pay up to $1,000 to help that tenant transition out of that unit, get those keys back, and hand them back to you so you can put it back onto the market. If the tenant doesn't agree to that within a 72-hour period, then we're going to hire the attorney to start the eviction process. Now, this is all normal times, right? This is all, well, I'll address the COVID situation, and how it's functioning.
Oh, come on, where's your sense of adventure?
It's kind of like buying insurance after the car accident, right?
Right? Oops.
So what we would do is hire the attorney. They would begin the eviction process. We have a panel of attorneys. We use Sturringer. We use Fast Evict is one of our panel counsel. Patty's friends, and we will hire that attorney. We have a fee schedules here, fee schedules with them that were our legal fee and court cost coverage of $1,500 will cover 99% of all evictions. And then once we get the property back into your hands, we're going to write you a check for the missing rent. And that calculation will be from the day the person stopped paying rent up until the day we get possession back into your hands. We get the keys in our hands, or the sheriff does the lockout, plus 15 days. So you have some time to turn the property around and get it back on the market, but minus a 1 month deductible. So the net effect is about a 2-week deductible. So if your rent is $2,000 a month and it takes us 3 months to get the property back, we're going to pay you for 3 months plus 15 days. So that's $2,000, $2,000, $2,000, $1,000, $7,000 minus 1 month deductible. So that's $2,000 out, and the payment will be $5,000. So
wait.
Legal
But
fees.
you're also paying my legal fees too, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say so you've got your legal fees up to $1,500, which 99% of cases no more excess. The fees won't be excess of that. we handle the eviction. All you have to do is show up when the attorney needs you to testify to say, yes, I'm the landlord, yes, I did the lease, and yes, they didn't pay the rent. And then we handle the lockout, we do everything. When we get the property back to you, we write you a check. That's
And
it.
And if our rents are about $2,000 a month, how much does this cost a landlord annually?
Depends on the zip code. So on average, and I'm throwing something in here right now.
Eric,
On average,
better. Your
my voice is better.
Yeah, because it was a little strained earlier. It's so much better. It was tough time hearing you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm using the microphone in my camera, and so I'll try to project more towards the camera.
Please.
So yeah, at $2,000 a month, on average, the cost is about $447 for the year. So that breaks down to about $37 a month. But it depends on the zip code. So there's a wide range of rate depending on the zip code, because the rate is developed by partially incorporates historical data analysis of the number of evictions per zip code in California to come up with a frequency number of likelihood.
Oh, come on. They're all in LA County. Just say it.
But yeah, so you can always feel free to reach out to me or come to our website, reassurerent.com, reassurerent.com, all one word. And
we have a question from Ronald. Hold on. I saw it flash up. Let me see if I can pull it back up. It's directed to you, Eric. It says, can you tell me how much for 90242?
How much is the monthly rent?
She told me yesterday, and for the life of me, I can't remember. So let's wait and see what she types on the screen. I want to say it was 24 or 2,300. I don't remember.
Yeah, so the one bedroom that I have is 2125, and then the 2 bedroom I have is 2,300.
Look, instant quote while you wait.
At $21.25, that cost is going to be $609.29, which breaks down to about $51 per month.
Okay.
At $2,300, it's $640.10, or $53 per month if you broke
So
down
it's
over 12 months.
it's not much difference. That's not a bad price to pay for you to be able to sleep at night.
Yes.
And if you did have an eviction, and it took 3 months to get that person out, it's going to cost you $8,340, including lost rent. So you would save over $7,700 with the insurance after paying the premium.
Okay, and explain to us, please, if you would, just so that we know for future reference going on, the difference between your insurance and rent guarantee, which is what other companies are offering.
Yeah, so there's a couple other products out there right now that are very similar that tend to be, well, there's 2 types. There's one, ours is actually an insurance policy. Prime Insurance Company is our insurance company. My company, Early Insurance Solutions, is the insurance agency that produces the policy, which we call Reassure Rent. So you, the landlord or the property manager, are actually the insured under the insurance policy. And really it's a form of financial guarantee. The other products that are out there, you might see something called lease lock, or some of these other products are not actually insurance policies, but they're companies that are saying that they will guarantee the tenant's performance, and they issue basically a performance bond, if you will, where they say, hey, don't worry about collecting a deposit from your tenants. Come to us, and we'll guarantee the tenant's performance. And if the tenant doesn't pay or breaks stuff or things like that, then come to us, and we'll be there to cover it. So it's not really an insurance policy. It's not necessarily backed by an insurance company. Our company, Prime, is an A-rated insurance company that's highly rated by AM Best, and we'll definitely be there for you. There's another competing product out there called Rent Rescue that actually is an insurance product. It's very similar to Reassure Rent. but they've been suspended. They're on moratorium right now. They're not allowed to issue any new policies ever since the COVID-19 pandemic took place.
I get
So
that.
we'll-
It's kind of like trying to buy fire insurance while the neighboring county's on fire and the wind's blowing in your direction. I get that.
Yeah, it's like I said, buy insurance after the car accident. So you can't-
Right?
So but the reason why we're able to continue to move forward is that we actually have an exclusion for pandemic in our insurance policy, so that if a loss is caused directly by a pandemic that's declared by the World Health Organization or by the Centers for Disease Control, then that's excluded. So most insurance policies will exclude losses caused by war, riot, insurrection. Property often has an earthquake exclusion, and now you're seeing insurance policies with pandemic exclusions as well.
Well,
So it will help us in the current environment in terms of people who, the accident's already happened, right? The car accident's already happened.
right.
And so this policy is not going to help for that. But for the next economic crisis, certainly, we'll be there.
Great, great to
Knock on
hear.
wood, it doesn't happen.
Patty, could I ask a question?
Yes, that's why we're here, honey. It's
Thank you.
questions.
Love your smile. Thank you. So I ask a question just so I can see you smile. Thank you. I have a question regarding underwriting the landlord. Is there requirements? What would be requested of the landlord to provide?
Yeah, so we don't underwrite the landlord, but we do have some requirements that you certify the tenant. You certify to us that you have run a background check on the tenant, that the tenant has a FICO of at least 590, that your tenant screening report did not, right? So
590. Did you guys hear that?
Expression. Most people won't rent for less than 650 FICO, right? But we'll go down to 590. So we'll go down to 590, but the person can't have any criminal history, or the report can't show that they have a criminal history, bankruptcy, or prior eviction within the past 5 years.
Great.
We don't want that information. We don't want a copy of the screening report or the application, because that's personal, private, confidential information that we're not entitled to until the time of a claim. So when you do have a loss, then we will ask you for that file.
Certify. Okay.
So we can do that then. But as far as qualifications to the landlord, it has to be a landlord of a residential property, no Airbnb or short-term rentals, that sort of thing. So the type of business that we're in here is exactly what we're looking for.
Perfect. Thank you. I should have just asked for requirements versus underwriting, but thank you for explaining.
Okay.
Anybody else have a question for Eric?
I do, Eric. I was having a little problems hearing earlier, and I just want to probably take one or two steps back just for clarity. So is this kind of like, I guess, because we're landlords, would this be equivalent to like renter's insurance, but just for a landlord? Is that kind of, trying to clear this up in my mind, is that the kind of the concept in general?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's a good question. So there's a lot of, there's basically 3 types of insurance that are out there that are often get kind of mixed up together. So one is renter's insurance, and that is insurance bought by the renter themselves. And it's kind of like you and I would have homeowners insurance on our house. The renter would buy homeowners insurance for their personal property, but also to protect them in case they set fire to their unit and it damages your property or damages some neighbor's properties or things like that.
Tenants would never do that. I'm kidding.
Never, of course not. And when you do, they're always fully insured. So it's good for the landlord for a tenant to promote renter's insurance to protect their own property, and also to protect the landlord, another layer of protection if the tenant's stuff gets stolen. They're going to, of course, try to blame you for providing inadequate security at the location or something like that. But if they have the insurance, they can make that claim. So that's
Renter's insurance covers renters' personal possessions, correct?
Personal possessions and damages that they cause.
Bingo. Okay, got it.
Then the next one is something called loss of rents insurance. And that's part of your property coverage generally. So if you have a landlord's package policy on your units, that protects your property in case of fire. There's also a component of that generally called loss of rent. So if your property is damaged by a covered loss like fire, and your tenants have to move out and move into a hotel room or some other alternative unit, you're no longer receiving the benefit of that rent. And so the loss of rents coverage will cover that rent. But the cause of loss has to be a covered loss in the policy. So if you're not covered for earthquake, you won't get paid for loss of rent for earthquake, unless you have an earthquake coverage endorsement to your policy. And then finally, there's mine, which is Reassurant Tenant Default Insurance, which really, again, the insured here is not the tenant, the insured is the landlord, covering you for the risk that the tenant doesn't pay the rent.
Thank you for the
I hope that
comment.
answers the question, Nick. Yeah, thank you.
I guess for me, it's a new concept, so I'm on a learning curve here.
Yeah, no, I
Well,
appreciate it.
I've never heard of it before.
Yeah, they've had it in the UK for a few decades, but it's new to the United States, new to California. It's a much different legal environment in the United Kingdom. It's much more pro-tenant than it has been here. But since the the landscape is changing now, I think it kind of makes sense for a product like this to become more popular here.
How long has the product been around for?
Been for about 18 months.
Oh, wow. So we're on the
This-
cutting edge.
You're on the cutting edge, yes.
So by way of background, I ran an insurance company for 19 years. I'm an attorney, but I ran an insurance operation, a company, 2 insurance companies and 1 reinsurance company for 19 years. Left there about 3 years ago to do some consulting work, and on the side developed and did the research to develop this product. So it's been kind of my baby. It's putting this together and developing the range, doing the research, and developing the policy forms and the coverages. And Prime Insurance Company agreed that is a viable product and to support it.
So this very much helps us recovering landlords, right? As you're a recovering attorney,
That's
right? So I feel like I'm recovering all the time, or I have a hangover or something. I don't know which one it is.
Welcome to property management.
Just to do some further clarification, this would only be for a new tenant, not an existing tenant.
That's right. So one of the concerns in developing the product, and I'm letting you peek behind the curtain a little bit about the insurance company's mindsets, what they think about, is adverse selection, where behaviorally insureds will tend to buy insurance on the worst risks and not insure the better risks. So we know we're not going to get the 700 FICO people coming in, right? Because they're probably not bad risks. But we know, so that's why we had that cutoff at 590. We won't go below 590. At the same time, we don't want to insure people with whom the landlords already have a relationship, because you're going to say, let me insure this guy because he's a slow payer, and not insure this one.
Come on, you don't trust us, Eric? You don't want our crap?
This group excluded for sure, but you know. So yeah,
we wouldn't do that.
There's a question in that, Stacy, though, if a landlord or property manager has a collection of 1,000 units or more and wants to insure all 1,000, then we can have a separate discussion about rating and pricing on that, and we can do that midterm because we now have the law of large numbers playing on our side a little bit more and spreading that risk across that large group of population, and so that can definitely be done.
Well, this is me talking to the managers now, and just hear me out, you guys. If we're managing a property where we know for a fact that the owner is flying by the seat of their pants, for lack of a better term, meaning that their mortgage is just as much as the rent and they don't have a lot of wiggle room there, this policy may be a really, really good tool for them, because if their margin isn't there and they're not working with much wiggle room and they have an insurance policy in place, it may take some of the strain and stress off of those inundated phone calls every month of, did my tenant pay? Did this happen? Did that happen? That insurance should take some of that comfort level onto that owner and off of you.
Nice.
Just saying. Come on, we all know what I'm talking about.
Okay. Eric, I have another general question, because this is relatively new as well. For example, because we're here in Southern California, is this a Southern California tool? Is it nationwide? Is it in only certain states, or do you have any understanding to that?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, as of now, it's available statewide throughout California. So we haven't launched into other states yet. Yeah, I'm kind of starting in my own backyard, and once we have some numerosity and sufficient experience, then we can start expanding to the other states.
Thank you.
Plan is eventually to go nationwide.
I have a feeling that it will. I mean, if us as landlords have two ways to protect us right now, which is our homeowners insurance and making the tenant get insurance as a requirement, because let's face it, if the tenant's insured and things go badly, our job's much easier than if they're not insured. Let's be honest, okay? With that being said, now knowing that we have another tool and another option to help protect us against non-payment, that really takes a lot of stress off of us.
Huge.
Well, and I think too, if you're in a position where you're able to maybe even charge a slightly higher rent,
Yeah, it's built in.
offset the cost of that insurance, that could be beneficial too. I have a client recently, we did a transaction that, we're obviously in different times right now, and the area was not as desirable as maybe some of the other areas we have. And one of the 3 applicants had an eviction that she was not aware of. She was in a relationship where there was abuse. She left, he stayed, she never got off that lease, and things obviously went terribly wrong. So we ended up getting this insurance policy for him, the landlord. We did not name the one occupant on the lease as the financial responsible. She's listed as an occupant. And that gave our client a little bit more peace of mind. And we also increased the rent by $50. We discussed that with the tenant. We also charged a higher security deposit.
And please tell me that you did the best thing ever and you denied them first.
I did deny them first. I did. As a matter of fact, I denied them, and then a few weeks later, they came back and said, would there be any way that you guys could please work with us? We love the home. So I called my client, I gave him some options, and this was the option he chose.
That's the best scenario I couldn't tell people that. So thank you, because that's how I foresee this insurance really helping us. When you have that client that is like, please, I need a place to live. This is perfect for me. What can I do? Call Eric. But please, make sure you deny them before you charge them for an additional deposit or for an additional rent amount to cover an insurance policy. You have to deny them under the original terms that they applied before you change terms. Okay,
Right.
Just so everybody knows. Otherwise, it could be discriminatory in the eyes of fair housing. They could call it bait and switch. They could. It's just better just to deny them, send them that adverse action notice, and then offer them those new terms.
Which brings up a point for Eric regarding the legality of actually calling, if we called it an insurance payment, so let's say we do charge them the extra money, is that legal to do, or is it better to just absorb it and call it additional rent?
I would say call it additional rent, but let's see what Eric says.
Yeah, well, actually, it's not so much an insurance issue as it is, a landlord-tenant issue.
Right.
From an insurance perspective, we expect to receive payment from the insured.
Correct.
Because you're the one with the insurable interest that we are guaranteeing, so to speak. So we receive payment from you. We issue the policy to you. Where that money comes from before it gets to us is really not our concern. It's not an insurance concern or a legal concern from an insurance perspective. But the way you communicate that to your clients or to your tenants is going to be very important. So Patty's discussion on, hey, deny that tenant first because they didn't qualify under your original terms, deny them, and then make them a new offer. And say, well, maybe instead of $2,000 a month, it's $2,050 a month. Would you be willing to pay that? You don't even have
And
to tell
instead of
the
a $3,000 deposit, I want a $6,000 deposit.
right.
Yes. I don't think any discussion with them about insurance would be wise, to be honest.
And Catherine, I never discussed any type of insurance policy with the tenant. I basically was very flat out and honest with them. We're taking on all the risk by having you as a client. And, if my client, the homeowner, agrees, then we're willing to work with you, but these are going to be the terms in which we're willing to work with you. And most people, if the property is right, it's in an area that they are looking for, they're going to want to agree to those terms. And
that was very smart.
These folks were having a hard time finding a property that they liked. We try to have very nice properties. And our client felt that we were looking out for their best interest on both sides. So it worked out well, but nothing was ever mentioned to the tenant. It was only my homeowner that I said, hey, this is an extra cushion for you to ensure that you will be getting the rent every month. And he was really excited about that.
Absolutely. That's great.
By the way, this is the first time I've met Stacy. She's not on our payroll. This is the first time I've met Stacy. Stacy's not on our payroll.
Well, I'll be honest with you, and I'm sorry that I keep talking here, but I actually had not ever heard about a program like this until February. We went to a NARPM conference in Palm Springs, and there was a property manager from Texas there who had just started a program like this and offered it in the state of California as well. And I had started to talk to him, and then COVID happened, and I completely forgot about it because I was focused on getting all the rents and learning about all this other stuff that I had to worry about. So it just sort of slipped my mind until a few weeks ago when I talked to Patty about this stuff. So it's a wonderful program, and I'm gonna talk to you on another time, Eric, just to get more details and whatnot.
I look forward to that. Yeah, thank you. I typed in the chat the website, and I'll put in also my direct phone number. If I can ever be of any assistance or answer any questions, or if you just need a quick quote, I can do that too.
Eric,
You guys can always contact me, and I'll hook you up with Eric too. So don't even worry about that.
Eric, how about a money question? For example, homeowners insurance, you get billed once a year, or auto insurance, you get, every 6 months, and break that down. How does that all work?
Yeah, so this is billed up front at the inception. So you submit the application gets processed, and then we issue you a formal quote. When you accept that formal quote, within there will be a credit card form. We ask you to fill out the credit card form, you send it back to us, and then we process the payment and issue you the policy.
Okay.
So the cost is borne at the beginning.
Okay.
And it covers you for 1 year.
Okay, thank you.
And Eric, that brings me to another question as well, and maybe somebody will think of this or possibly have this question. I know, like with being a property manager, our homeowners obviously have to have homeowners insurance, and they add Smart Property Services as an additional insured or interest. And then of course the tenants on the flip side, they have renters insurance, they add us as additional insured and interest, as well as the homeowner. Does this policy allow for our homeowner to add us to that policy as an additional insured in the event something happens, because we have a legally binding contract and we would be the ones to appear in court for them? How would that work?
Generally, the named insured is the name of the landlord in the lease agreement.
Okay.
So the property management company is named as the landlord in the lease agreement, then you'll be named as the primary insured, because we're the ones that are going to be showing up representing you. Our attorney is going to be representing you in the eviction action. If the landlord is named as the insured, but you have an arrangement with them as a property management company.
Agent for the owner.
Ours is agent for the owner. So our client is named as the landlord, but we're in the contract, it's checked that we're the agent for the owner. So we sign the contract for them.
Okay, so we would, in the insurance policy, and ask on your application to fill out the application in the name of the landlord and the property management company.
Perfect. Okay, great. Great. So we could appear in court for them. Many of our owners are not even in the state of California, so they wouldn't be in eviction court.
Oh, come on. Okay, Eric, I have another one, and I have to be very careful what I say, but you can say whatever you want because you're an attorney and I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
So for those of us that are managing investment property for profit for other people, is it a better business practice for us to list the owner as the landlord or us as a management company as the landlord? And I know the answer to this, but I'm being very careful what I say.
I lost in court.
Say that again, Stacy.
I know the answer because I lost in court.
What is it?
I'm going to give you a lawyer's answer and say it depends. but
would it limit our life?
Yeah. Strictly from a legal liability perspective, the legal liability from the perspective of the property management company, you do not want to be in that contract.
Right. What I was taught by an attorney is whoever you name as the landlord is who they're supposed to sue. So why would you volunteer for a lawsuit? I know, right, Stacy? I got you.
$22,000. Don't do it.
Yeah.
How much?
$22,000.
Wow.
It goes back to, I think, the word depends. You're going to start wearing depends.
And you know the reason why I lost, it wasn't necessarily because we were named as the landlord, but the tenant's attorney couldn't find our client, the landlord. They had moved and they couldn't find the address. So we were the ones.
Right.
Imagine that.
Yeah. It was a rough blow, but not a mistake that I will ever make again.
It's okay. I'm going to teach you a secret for the future. Okay.
Okay.
Because you're the agent for the owner and not a party in this action and should be dismissed from the case. Right, Eric?
Yes.
And you can use your management contract as a tool to show that you're an agent for the owner and not a party in the action. Bing. And your management contract should also allow you to represent the owner in a court of law.
Yeah.
Eric's nodding his head yes, so I'm like, okay.
Any judgment against the landlord will go against the landlord and not the property management company.
Bingo, right on the nose.
So just to interject something for a second here, this is all above my head. I'm a part of the Apartment Association of Southern California. We have our contracts, right? Is some of this language in that stuff or not necessarily? Does anybody know?
They don't have a management contract with the apartment associations.
Okay, we're owners.
Nicholas, I'm also a member of CAA, but I'm also a member of I'm a licensed realtor. So we use the California Association of Realtor management contracts, and we also use the lease contracts. It's just easier to have one simple contract. But I do use the CAA forms for certain addendums, like the assistive animals. The realtor website doesn't have that. So
interesting.
But this was just something I ended up learning because I had to write a big check, and it was not fun. So it's nice to be able to collaborate like this, so you won't ever make a mistake.
It's a very costly mistake that could be easily corrected.
Yes.
And I guess,
Patty.
and Eric, at the same time, kind of going back to you with all this, with this default insurance, is this a sort of a kind of like a baked-in protection as well, or is that a difficult question to answer? Or I don't know.
Nick, I'm sorry, you faded out just on the crucial word, I think, the something protection.
I'm wondering if with the default insurance, if this is all baked in, or how does it all work? It's all new information for me. So for example, if I was to pull out a default insurance, and based on our conversation right now of getting sued for $22,000 and all these kinds of things, is this like a layer of protection? I mean, as an owner?
Yeah. I mean, not it doesn't provide protection to the landlord for liabilities caused by the landlord. So if you as a landlord decide, I'm not going to repair the heating system, or I'm not going to repair the plumbing system, and therefore the tenant withholds rent, and then later a court of law determines, yes, in fact, Nick, you are at fault because you did not, fix the plumbing, you did not repair the heating, you created habitability issues. Then the policy, while we would have provided the legal coverage, or the legal benefit, would not provide the indemnity benefits of the missing rent, because the landlord was actually at fault.
Okay, and that's the $1,500 you had mentioned earlier. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah, for legal fees and court costs.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you guys, the way I see it is if I have to spend $50 a month, and this is just my opinion, if I have to spend $50 a month to not have to worry if my tenants can pay the rent next month, that's a great peace of mind for me. You know, how many of us stay up at night going, oh God, this is a bad month for me. I've had to put in 3 new water heaters, 6 new dishwashers. I have all this overhead going on, and now I'm concerned that my tenants aren't going to pay on top of it. I don't need that. For $50 a month, I would gladly give that stress to Eric.
It's an ongoing issue, right? I mean, month to month, we don't, especially in these COVID times.
Yeah. Well, and even after these COVID times, for $50 a month, if I can hand that stress to Eric and sleep better at night, I'm doing it.
Well, and that's why we have health insurance. We have vehicle insurance. Nobody asks and hopes that they're going to get cancer, or they're going to get in a wreck tomorrow, or like my mom going 92 on the freeway coming here and got a ticket, have insurance for a reason. And $50 when you
tell mom I got a lead foot too.
I mean, this is something that we're going to start looking into just for our own rental properties as they become vacant.
Absolutely.
We've always been very lucky. I will say, I would probably say that 98% of our people paid. We had 2 that did not pay this month, a reduced rent. But I think that also has a lot to do with qualifying your tenants, making sure that they have stable jobs, that they have those bank statements that can show that they have a few months of savings and things like that to cover them.
Wait. Stacy, you mean you actually read their applications and their credit reports? You just don't pin them up on a board and then play darts, and the one
No.
Oh, okay.
First
just checking.
Qualified. That's my motto.
I got something for you guys. If you could see in front of me, I have my table full of all kinds of rental stuff. And I was going through one of my tenants right now, some of the bank information, and they've been on board for over 4 years. And I didn't even know when I interviewed them, there's a $32,000 savings in there. I didn't even know that until yesterday. I mean, it's kind of what Patty's saying. It's, I just learned this yesterday.
Nick, we'll teach you a different process and procedure to process your application so that you're catching all that stuff.
And the last thing is that part of the same thing, it's no big deal, but I went on to Trulia or Zillow just to type in one of these previous addresses, and it's an empty lot in Texas. And if I would have did my homework, I mean, the tenants are good, right? There's nothing wrong with them. But if I did some of that little background, looking at empty lot in Texas, it's like, oh, mother, father, I'm out.
Nick, wait, I got the best one for you, okay? I had somebody apply to be a property manager under my staff at one point, and he told me that he managed a 500-unit mobile home park in Oro Grande.
Does it exist?
No, the address showed to a vacant piece of property. There is no mobile home park in Oro Grande.
Oh my, you guys, don't tell me all your bad stories.
I know.
Oh no,
But-
what I'm trying to do is, if you do that research, if you have that feeling, chances are there's a reason you're having that feeling. Do that research. I mean, it doesn't take long to do a Google map search, right? And it answered a lot of your questions right at hello.
I mean, this
Same
is 4 years
concept.
later.
Hey.
Tell you that gut feeling that you get, the hairs on the back of your neck that stand up when you're meeting with people, definitely go with that, because 9 times out of 10 there's something there. And I had that recently happen to me, and I was dead on. They had an eviction. And
I call it my a-hole alarm.
Yep, yep, it's true. It's true. It's,
When that hair stands up on the back of your neck, I call it the a-hole alarm.
no, it's
There's
true.
one present.
Yeah, it's the $22,000 experience.
Yes. Yeah.
And 90% of our communication is subconscious, and we receive information subconsciously, and that's what makes those hairs stand up. We're picking up signals that we're not conscious of,
Thing is all.
Right.
and we rationalize our way around them because we want that
Right.
money. We want to get that property rented, and
Right.
then it ends up biting us at the end.
Right.
Well, same scenario. I was at a property one day. Actually, I was in my office, and this gentleman showed up, and he was demanding to go look at a property right away. And I told him, look, you don't have an appointment. I can't meet with you right now. I'm trying to prepare stuff for the president of our corporation is coming tomorrow. I'm trying to get this stuff in order. I could go show you the property, but I can't do it until I get off of work. So it wasn't until I pulled into and he sat in the lobby of my office and waited for 2 hours for me to go show him a property that was 10 minutes away. It didn't click with me that there was a problem until we actually showed up at the property, and I was getting out of my car and I realized it's after 5 o'clock. Nobody knows where I am. I'm not on company time anymore. All those protections I have aren't there. You know, anything could happen. And I said to him, as the hair stood up on the back of my neck, I'm going to go ahead and make a phone call. Why don't you go ahead and show yourself around? I'll be out here if you need anything. And I stayed outside of the unit. It wasn't until we went a little further into the relationship, if you will, that he had bad credit. That owner wouldn't approve him. I had someone else to approve him. And I'd let him know at that point, in order for us to rent to you, you're going to have to pay a higher deposit, and I'm going to have to find an owner that's willing to work with you. I do have an owner that has had a vacancy for quite some time, you know, yada, yada, yada. This guy flipped out on me inside that vacant unit. Being dead honest with you. So that alarm I felt the first time when I stayed outside, I should have paid attention to that, but I was so intrigued with trying to help him that all those other warning signs that I saw, I was pushing to the side. And Stacy's spot on. Pay attention to your intuition, because 9 times out of 10, it's trying to tell you something you're blatantly ignoring because you don't want to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a mess, just so you know, a big mess. And it was in that moment that my broker told me, and I will keep this with me forever because it made so much sense. He said to me, Patty, no matter how hard you try, some people just can't be helped. And that has resonated with me and stuck with me because he couldn't be more spot on. I bent over backwards for this guy, and how did he thank me? He raked me over a cheese grater, accused me of discrimination, and charged this whole massive mess. And all I was trying to honestly do was help him. So it was in that instant that I realized he's right. We can't help everybody. Some people, no matter how hard you try, they just cannot be helped. So keep that in mind. It's not a failure from you, okay? But it's definitely something we need to be mindful of to protect our investments. The a-hole alarm. Remember when that goes up on the back of your neck, pay attention to that.
There.
Yeah, I need to sleep every night, Eric, because I have 4 vacancies. I need to sleep every night. Every night.
I'm
Oh,
sure
yeah.
Ronnalee will be calling you, Eric.
We've actually been chatting and we've exchanged information. So it's good. Yeah, well, I mean, really, this program was created because we felt that landlords shouldn't live in fear. You know, that landlords should be able to operate from a place of comfort. That we don't need to be always on the defensive all the time. You know, let's have a little bit of comfort ourselves and operate from a place of proactiveness rather than reactiveness. And I think this insurance helps us with that.
Definitely. And I think COVID has a big part in that now, because I don't think that any of us should live our lives from a place of fear. This is life. We need to live it.
Yeah. Especially now, we all know that we can do it, right? We're surviving. Yeah, now it's time to start thriving, right? We got to figure out how to thrive.
Hey, I've told people my whole life, I'm a survivor, not a victim, and I'll figure out a way.
Right.
Eric, probing your work, I think one last time for me. So when you talk about, for example, these quotes, is this per unit or property? For example, a duplex, threeplex, is it per unit for, or per the, the parcel of land? How does that work?
Yeah, it's per unit per lease.
Okay.
So you would buy the property at the time of a new move-in, and really the only factors that we're looking at are your certifications that the tenant qualifies,
right,
and the zip code and the monthly rent. So really, and it covers a 12-month period of that lease.
Thank you. And I know you said that before. I'm just getting through my thick
Yeah, no,
skull.
of course. Not very. Yeah, and by the way, if you think of something later that you can't reach me right away, we have a pretty good FAQ page on our website.
You have what?
Frequently asked questions page.
Okay.
Yeah, we have some FAQs listed there that has a lot of good information.
And then I have a question for you, Eric, but I don't know that now's the time because you know how my brain works. But we as landlords cannot discriminate against a criminal background. So if they have a criminal background, you cannot insure them. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah, I think the actual policy is felony within the last 5 years. But actually, I didn't know that as landlords, you can't.
We can't discriminate against felonies in general. It's discrimination. So we can't put on our criteria no felony convictions. We can define the felony and put no felony convictions for manufacture of illegal substance or great bodily injury.
Murder.
Things, well, we have to be very specific on what the felony is. We can't add it as a broad scope. That's discriminatory. So we have to define the felony. So if somebody has felony parking tickets, we have to rent to them.
Right. What if they had a prior eviction or a bankruptcy or something
We can do that. As far as that goes, it's when we get into crimes that it becomes more challenging from a fair housing standpoint. Just so everybody's aware, Fair Housing did a survey against felony convictions, and they determined that there's 2 ethnicities that have more felony convictions than anybody else. So Fair Housing says if you discriminate against felonies, you're basically discriminating against those 2 ethnicities. So we can put no felony, I'm sorry?
A disparate impact. So
Yes.
you're selecting on one criteria, but it's affecting a race.
Exactly. Yeah.
By chance, would one of those discriminatories be against my cultural background, I'm wondering, based on my appearance?
Well, I did tell you that the study that the Department of Fair Housing did came that there are more felony convictions on Black Americans and Hispanics.
Bingo.
So take it for what it's worth, you know. And you know me, I'm white, so I'm just racist because that's how I'm stereotyped. You know, we all have a stereotype.
I must be the poster child for the Latino population then.
I just always, whenever I'm using a discrimination thing, I always use white. Oh, they're white, so you know they did it. They're the trailer trash. They're the this. And I always just pick on my own race, so nobody accuse me of being discriminatory. But hey, whatever. I just look at people as humans. I've been doing this for so long that you're just human. You're either a good human or you're not a good human. Keep it simple.
I have to get on another call, so thank you all so much. It was really nice to meet you all.
Thank you for joining us, Stacy. And next week I have a special guest, Stacy.
Okay, well, I'll be on it.
You're not going to want to miss it. If I told you who she was, you'd probably already know.
Oh, okay.
Did that help? We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye. So does anybody have any other thing that is like pertinently hanging over them that they just need to talk about or get an answer to or brainstorm with?
No. Eric, call me. Okay.
I will. And you know what, Patty, I got to think, I didn't expect to be, I expected to come on here just to learn more about what you guys are seeing and what you guys are doing. I didn't expect.
Here, let me give you an update. Let me give you an update really quick, Eric. 97% of the state of California paid their rent for April. 95% of all tenants in the state of California paid their rent for May. So we're doing all this fuss and all these new laws for 5% of the tenant population of our state. That's ludicrous, right? We also know that maintenance requests are down by 70% across the board. So that tells us as landlords, once this order is lifted, we're going to get inundated with maintenance requests. It also tells us that most likely what we're going to see happen is the tenant that wants to press the limits of what their rights are then going to complain about habitability issues, so that as scheduled rent becomes due, they think they don't owe it.
Think so?
That's what I think, because why are they not reporting? They're not, some of these tenants are in their units and won't even talk to the landlords.
Right. That's yeah.
Right?
There's
I'm
always
assuming that's the tenant that is educating themselves and is going to use a habitability issue once the rent becomes due. But what do I know? I'm just a blonde.
there's always a certain, you know, I didn't mention that very early on in my career as an attorney, I was a landlord-tenant attorney, and I did evictions. I was one that would show up at the courthouse and say, Mr. Garza, oh hi, I'm your lawyer. Let's do our proof up.
Yeah.
Right? And there was always a certain percentage of people that, you know, most of them were just good people who had a hard time, but there was a percentage of the professional tenants who would just stretch things out and just, you know, pull out all the stops, and now they've just been given a whole basket full of tools in addition to what they already had. And it's
Eric,
crazy.
I have a question for you as a recovering attorney. I'm doing some attorney stuff right now. I'm on an investigative road, and as a recovering attorney, I mean, I guess this just takes the life out of one person. I mean, like some of the issues I'm going through right now that I'm having to address with the attorney. I mean, is this just? I guess this is what
I see you, Ronald.
attorneys do every day. I mean, just sort of their happy space. Is that how that works?
The attorneys who do this every day.
I mean, as a recovering, I mean, this must take a toll, because I mean, just as a layman, I'm like, oh, mother, father, this can't be happening. I know a little bit of my stuff. And it's like,
It's interesting.
like a cup of coffee.
Yeah, from my experience, when I was doing it, you know, I was young, I was enjoying it. I felt like I was doing my duty and vigorously advocating for my clients. You know, I felt like that I was doing a good thing in representing my clients. When I got out of it, when I got into the business side of things, when I went to the company that eventually, where I started running this insurance company, and I started doing deals and transactions and doing business, I realized, wow, this is so much better, because every day it was a fight, right? Every letter I wrote was antagonistic. Every phone call I had was antagonistic. And as a young baby lawyer, I enjoyed it. And I think a lot of lawyers just still enjoy it. And they believe in what they're doing, you know, but they're not always the nicest people, you know,
No.
because they that's what they do. This is the personality that they have. And you want those kind of people on your side when you really need them, right?
Absolutely.
But it suits some personalities, it doesn't suit others, you know, and while I was doing it, I enjoyed it. But when I got out of it, I realized I'd rather try to put deals together than have to fight over them later. So.
Interesting.
Well, that's why I didn't become an attorney, because I don't like to argue. That might be why I'm single. Attorneys argue for a living, right? Give them a point, they'll argue it.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Yeah, I too have to disappear. But
Yes, I need to do the same as well. Thank you for joining us, Eric. I hope you come back again. Again, we do these widget ways every Wednesday. It's like a powwow. Sometimes we talk about our challenges, what's happening in the industry. Sometimes it's totally left field. But with everybody having the amount of vacancies they have right now and having the concern of moving someone new in right now, I wanted to make sure that they knew that you're on our team and you actually have a service that could be extremely useful to us in these uncertain times.
Absolutely. Another arrow in your quiver and a tool to bring comfort. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Eric.
And
As always, thank you, Eric. We'll talk soon, I'm sure.
Yes, absolutely. Bye-bye.
All right. Anybody else have anything for me before we call it a day?
Not publicly.
Right? Well, it's you, me, and Catherine at this point, but I'm going to go ahead and call it a day. Thank you for joining us. Watch the website. I do have a questions and answers webinar. It's the first webinar I'm doing where it's just, you get to pick my brain about whatever. So please, I encourage you to come in and join us for that. I do have a special guest coming next Wednesday. I have Christy Kelly coming. She was a past trainer with California Apartment Association. She worked with AGLA for a while, and now she's a trainer in commercial property or residential property management for a major corporation. So just want to hear how she's being affected by all this, what kind of tips she can offer all of us, if any, and she also works with me with the police departments and our crime-free housing programs. So she's a great resource and a good tool to give us another perspective of what it's like out there in the trenches. All right, you guys have a great day. I will see you next Wednesday. If you need me, give me a ring. Nick, I'm sure I'll talk to you later.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much.
Bye, everybody.
All right, bye. You guys have a good one. Bye-bye.